Every missed call from a motivated seller is a deal you just handed to your competition. And I've seen it happen hundreds of times. A seller calls at 11 p.m. on a Saturday, nobody answers, and by Monday, they've already signed with someone else. That's why I brought in Jordan Fleming, who has worked with over 15,000 real estate investors, to show you exactly how AI calling agents fix this forever. In this session, we break down the exact agent setup that made 52,000 calls in just 7 days, how it plugs into your CRM, and how you can have it running in your business this week. I'm on a mission to make sure no REpreneur ever loses a motivated seller to a missed call again. Let's get into it. What's up, everyone? So you're an entrepreneur that runs a wholesaling or real estate investing business, flipping business. You obviously are here because you are in the REpreneurs mastermind, or you're a client at Hustle Media, you're a client at Get Sellers, or you're a client at Remote Latinos, and you've been delivered leads, you've been delivered team. Now it's time today to learn more about AI, right? How do exponentially and magnify your team and then get the most out of the leads that you get in a daily basis. So that's why today I have a special guest, my brother Jordan Fleming, who is the founder of a very smart and let's just call it successful company called Smrtphone, right? Did you call your company Smrtphone because you said like I'm smart, so I'm just gonna like like call it Smrtphone? How did that come out, man? Like what's the story of
I
Smart?
wish it was a good story. I wish it was a good story, and I wish it was a smart story. It's not. Genuinely, I had been doing a project for another industry where it was going to be Smart Studio, and they wanted it without the A, and that project fell through. But I had the domain, and it just so happens just right after I met my co-founders and we decided to build this Smrtphone, what became Smrtphone. We didn't know that yet, and because we had no customers and we were just building this as an idea, we just chose the domain and we're like, oh, we'll just call it Smrtphone, no problem. And then of course it took off, and now we're like kind of stuck with it. But like, which is fine because people, the lack of the A confuses people in some ways, but it also is a differentiator. But it was not a considered decision at the time.
Yeah. So you turned to be in multi-8-figure business in the last few years. You've helped, I don't know, like maybe what, 2,000-3,000 investors or people that have used your services. How many?
Oh, we've got about over the 9 years, we've worked with about 15,000 investors.
15,000 investors that use either whether that was the Chrome extension, whether that's the integration on Podium at that, or integration with any other CRMs or calling systems. You've been there. You know exactly how to approach people after they fill out a form, or when they call in. So you've been around, and so I want to definitely like diving into like you decided that now it's time to build something that still maintains the human aspect of things by having a conversation with people and booking more appointments, getting more deals done, moving the lead flow to contract faster. But you also know the importance of still having the team that you have with this amplified AI portion of it, right? So you have good appointment setters, you have good closers, but now attaching an AI team to them can ultimately improve the results that you have in the business. So tell us a little bit more about what we got going on. What is it that we have right now in Smrtphone, and how can actually, how can we actually learn more about this?
Sure. Well, let's take Smrtphone out of the equation for a bit, because there's way more important things to talk about than Smrtphone in this conversation, and that is more fundamentally around how people should be possibly thinking about implementing AI into their business, building their business, taking it forward in the age of AI. And I do want to start there because way too much of the conversation on around AI over the last year or more has focused in the wrong areas. It's focused on prompts and tools, as though any of that actually matters. Oh, someone's trying to call me. Someone's trying to call my smartphone. I'll decline that. But the way too much of the conversation has been what I would class as extremely superficial, about prompts and tools. And it's like, hey man, this new version's coming out, this, whatever, have you tried this tool, have you tried that tool, blah blah blah. None of that. All of that's fine. I don't mean to, like, of course try it out, of course experiment, of course use different tools, absolutely. And I'm not trying to say you shouldn't, but there's a way deeper conversation you should be having with yourself if you're a business owner. Now, I've been a business owner for over 20 years. I have built teams. Now I've got about 60 people in my company right now. So I have to approach AI in a very different light than if I'm going to be successful with it as a business owner, than just what prompt do I use, or how can my team make videos with this, or how can I accelerate my social media presence with that. There's a way deeper conversation, which is, how am I really going to get true leverage in my business using AI? And it's not with a tool and a prompt on an isolated instance. It is really the more fundamental question everybody should be asking right now is, what does my business actually look like, and how does my business actually run? And the reason that's important right now is we are at a completely novel inflection point for businesses right now. We are in a paradigm shift of how businesses can operate, which is as drastic as the paradigm shift we had when the internet first came out. I'm old enough, as you can tell, I'm old enough to remember the dot-com bust of 2000. The dot-com bust, boom and bust, did not kill the internet. Is there any business you know now that operates in a pre-internet age? I doubt it. The internet, the dot-com busted. The dot-com bust happened, but the internet stayed. And more importantly, the internet changed how every part of your business worked, whether that was the ability to introduce a SaaS system a decade later, whether that was the ability to send email instead of mail, whether that was the ability to use online phone systems instead of a regular phone system, whether it was the ability to collaborate across a world in a way we never could before. The internet fundamentally changed the structure of business, and businesses had to adapt their entire way of working. And yet when we talk about AI right now, companies are talking about it as though they're just adding fucking tools. Pardon my French. I'm sorry, I curse like a sailor and I shouldn't. But they're at it, like, instead of thinking about this as a complete fundamental foundational shift in how your business operates, people are saying, what tool should I use? Which version of Grok matters more? None of that matters compared to understanding how your business needs to operate. In the same way, all the businesses pre-internet completely changed their operating procedures post-internet. We're at a point where all the businesses are operating pre-AI. And when I say AI, I really mean agentic AI. There's pre-agentic AI and there's post-agentic AI. And if you are not, as a business owner, as an operator, as someone that has a business that has SOPs and teams and departments and structure and all that, the first thing I started to do was not think about the tools. It was to think about my business operational structure and to really reanalyze the entire way my business works to understand one fundamental difference. And I'm actually just about to launch a new book called The AI Workforce, which I'm happy, Esteban, I'll happily send you a link that you can give to your entire community. They can get a free copy of it. It's going to be published in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Nice.
Because what I realized, was that if I was really going to be successful, Smrtphone was going to be successful in AI, And when we started to build what we call smart agents, which are, to your point, Esteban, the agents that can make calls, answer calls, send text, communicate with people, I had to think very deeply about, well, what does that mean? What does it mean if I can have an AI worker answering the phones 24/7? Like, how does it work in my workflow? Does my workflow still work? Like, what does it mean if I can have an AI agent making 20 times the amount of calls a normal AI a person can make? But what does that mean for the next part of the process? What good is it making 20x amount of calls if the rest of the process, the rest of my business can't pick up 20x the amount of volume? Like, that's a fundamental disconnect. It's one of the reasons why you see so many people complaining they're not getting the leverage of AI they thought they would. It's not that the tools aren't good. It's not that agentic AI isn't phenomenal. It's not that all the models and all the capabilities aren't there, but it's because they've usually tried to plug AI in to a process that's pre-AI, to a structure that's pre-AI, and to a workforce that works pre-AI. And so what I ended up doing, and I just wanted to give you guys the foundation here for this. What I ended up doing was it took me about 6 months. I had to really think about, well, what is this going to mean then to Smrtphone, my company? I got 60 people. Do I need 60 people? What do I do with 60 people? I've gone to war with these people, right? How do I reorganize? Does my departmental structure change? Do people's roles change? Right? I had to go really deep into that. And I ended up creating a framework for how to reanalyze your business and restructure it in a world which we've never had before, where people and software can share responsibility. Think about that. We've never had that before. Software has always been a great tool as an amplifier, right? It's been a great tool as an organizer, as a system of record, as a way of managing and automating. But automation is not responsibility. Automation carries no responsibility for thought and decision making. And yet, how many people have I seen implement AI agents and treating them as though it's just automation? What a waste of a Ferrari. And that's a really fundamental thing. I think it's really important that everybody kind of has that mindset shift in them now. We have never been at a point in the world where responsibility and execution could be handled by a computer. Responsibility, decision-making, and execution can now be handled by a machine. And that changes the game. Think about everything we've done for fucking hundreds of years, whether it's automation, software, SaaS, or a car manufacturing plant building in automation for the first time. Ultimately, responsibility always remained with the person. You have a CRM. The CRM can manage all your leads, but it tasks the sales rep to make the call. The CRM doesn't make decisions. Not really. It doesn't execute. The CRM reminds. It has a trigger to say, oh, well, now it's day +5, so I'm going to tell Esteban to make a call, or I'm going to send an automated text. That's not decision making. But AI agents can do that, which means that we can actually have a collaboration between your people, AI, and your systems in a way that actually amplifies deliverability and execution. But very few people are having that conversation because they're too busy talking about what tool, what prompt, what version of Grok, or what version of of Claude they're using, and or what thing they managed to do. But that's not where the leverage is. And I just wanted to give that as a basic background because it informed how we built voice agents. And if you're thinking of doing this yourself, whether in whatever platform you're doing, smartphone or others, it's really important you come at it from that mindset, because there's no point in building a multiplier like an AI agent if the rest of your business isn't structured to deal with that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And by the way, like, I genuinely, like, if you go to the futureworkforce.ai, you can that's where the book's going to be on. But I will send Esteban a link. Esteban, you can send it to everybody who can register. Free book for everybody, no problem. But I think I'm really passionate that people start having that mindset shift, because if you really want to benefit from the multiplier that is agentic AI, you have to redesign your business. Now, let's talk about voice agents now, and communication agents, right? Because we also are at a point where the technology is so good that, like, we have an agent that we did. Esteban and I were in the room with, we're not going to name names, but we were in the room together a couple weeks ago, and there was a very, 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 very big player there that we both know who it is, and we ended up delivering an agent, 3 agents for them in about a week. And that agent, in 7 days, made 52,000 calls.
Wow.
And had over 500 hours of talk time.
Wow.
Sending 16,000 plus text messages and 16,000 plus emails, dropping probably 5,000 voicemails. Voicemails, by the way, that were not recorded drops, but were agents who got voicemails and left bespoke, unique voicemail messages each time.
Wow.
Right? So that's capability. The question is, how do you guys take advantage of that? And what are the things? What I wanted to give to you guys today was, what are the things you should be thinking about when you're looking at doing this, regardless of how you do it? Does that sound okay, Esteban, if I go through some of that right now?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So again, this is very agnostic to smartphone. I do have, obviously I can help you guys with there as well, but I wanted to give you something you can apply regardless. So I'm just going to go through a couple little bits. If you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen and give you go through a couple bits of some presentation. You see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is I sort of kind of covered this, but I do want you guys to think about this when you start to think about how to integrate, if you're looking at voice agents, of agents that can communicate with your customers, your leads, prospects, whatever. The question that you should be asking is, what job should this agent do in my company? Not what features can this bit of software have. You should be treating agents, agentic AI, as part of your workforce, not as a bit of software, a tokenized software that you invest in. And it's really important, because when you do that, you can then start working them inside your organizational structure, and you can redesign your processes appropriately. And if you're going to do that, if you're going to understand how one of these agents can speak to people on your behalf, there are a couple things you really need to make sure that you build into your agents. All our agents have this already built, of course, and structured, but this is what you should be thinking, because this is what I was thinking. Number one, you need a clearly defined role for your agents. Specificity wins in almost every game, right? Whether it's marketing, sales, or designing agents, because specificity gives people exact understanding of what they need to do. By the way, that's no different than a human. Think about when you hire people. If you give people a very clear understanding of what their role is, then they have clarity and they know where they're accountable for, what metrics they need to achieve, and everybody knows where they are. We've all probably experienced positions where you don't have clearly defined roles. And what happens? There's confusion. There's, oh, well, this performance drops. And it's not necessarily a fault. Well, the same is true for an AI agent. So you need a clearly defined role. The second is specific responsibilities, so that you know, as part of that role, exactly what the agent is allowed to do, and clear boundaries for what they're not allowed to do. And I'll give you a direct real estate example. Our agents, we have an intake appointment setting agent, which and those agents are never allowed to talk to money about money. It's not their job. Not their job to talk. And if a seller pushes, they will avoid the question. They'll push back. I'm really sorry. I can't do this, but I can get you on a call with someone who can, et cetera, et cetera. They do it in a very nice way. But those clear boundaries exist for a reason. Another clear boundary that you should always have and is, for instance, an AI agent that never lies about being AI. You should absolutely have that. Those are responsibilities and clear boundaries. And then finally, you need someone, just like a person does, you need someone to own that agent. You need someone to have management oversight and accountability for their performance, just like a human agent. Because just like a person who needs to constantly be trained and pushed forward and improve, their performance improved, you can do the same with agents. So this idea that it's set it and forget it is stupid. Humans aren't like that either. When you set and forget a human, their performance degrades over time. They get lazy, they get sloppy, they get dumb. The agents are essentially the same. When you make that shift from a software mindset, you start to understand where the leverage of your agents are going to come from and where the performance is going to come from as well. I'm just going to skip through some of this because this was from a presentation I did for a while back. So let's talk about the first start. I want to stop pausing this one. I would always recommend, if you guys are new to setting voice agents, I would always recommend, first of all, starting with an inbound agent. There's a couple reasons for that. Number one, outbound carries compliance risk. You are not legally allowed to cold call with AI right now. And we see lawsuits all the time. Doesn't mean you can't make outbound calls. We had an agent last week that did 50,000 of them, but they were all opted in qualified leads. So I always say, get your feet wet with an inbound agent. Make sure you get your an inbound agent that solves a problem. Now, what's the biggest inbound agent problem? What's the biggest inbound problem for most real estate investors? That is missed calls to hot leads. Someone calls you, if a motivated seller calls you and you do not answer that call, or that call goes to voicemail, what happens with that motivation?
Goes to another person.
Yeah. Do they wait around for you? Have you
No.
ever seen? Do they wait? No, of course they don't. They're already looking for the next person because they're motivated right now. They reached out to you and you didn't answer the phone. So, what a perfect use case for an AI agent, because that AI agent can work 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year with zero downtime, zero sick pay, zero holidays, always consistent. So if I was you guys looking to attack my first agent, I would be looking at an inbound agent that always answers the call after hours and that answers the call on all overflow calling. So for instance, say you've got a team of 3 people who answer the calls, but they're all busy, they're all on calls. You do not want that call to go to a voicemail. You want it answered. What a perfect opportunity for you guys to get to know and get started with AI agents. Your staff normally does not work 24/7, but seller motivation runs 24/7. Sellers, how many times have we seen sellers at 11 p.m. on a Saturday night reach out because they're stressed, they're worried, they've got a problem, they need help, they reach out for help, but it's Saturday night, 11 p.m. I'm in the bar, man. I'm having a mojito with Esteban in Tennessee. Well, you just lost a motivated seller. So it's a perfect opportunity. What we have found is that a remarkable amount across our customer base of inbound calls go unanswered. And that is a lost deal in most of the times. And by the way, the longer it takes for you to follow up, that motivation drops exponentially. If it takes you 2 days to follow up on a lead, you might as well not. A lot of the times, because they've already moved on. So I wanted to go through one other bit. I'm just going to skip through some of this that matters. Yeah, let me just, I've got one more thing I wanted to show you. And I want to talk about first. And that is, what are some of the things, because I don't want to make this a smartphone presentation, what are some of the things you should be thinking about technically if you are looking at integrating agents? And because there's a couple things that really matter. First of all, you need to look very carefully at any provider you are looking at for agents. There are lots of companies out there right now that are selling agents. There are lots of companies out there that are trying to build their own agents. All of it's valid, not all of it's good. First of all, if you are looking to engage in, if you are looking to build yourself, then you need to know that what you're doing is you're changing yourself from a real estate investor into a software company. You're bringing in essentially an added element of nuance and capability to your business that you may not like, because you're now going to have to, if you build it yourself, you have to maintain it yourself. If you build it yourself, you have to tweak it yourself. If you want changes, you have to do it yourself. Normally, I don't think most people should do that, because you should be focused on building your real estate business and making money, not on building software. So I would say that's the worst way of doing it. Now, lots of companies out there that you can choose from. So what are the things you should be looking at? First of all is compliance. If you're talking to a company that is offering you cold calling agents, hang up. That's it. Hang up. Because they are opening up a door to a lawsuit for you that you do not want. It's simply not worth it. Second, a question I would always ask with a company, if I'm looking at building an agent or hiring one of their agents or whatever, is to find out a little about their infrastructure capabilities. Most people right now offering agents are actually not telecom companies with a telecom infrastructure. And that actually matters a great deal, because voice is the hardest AI to do because it's in real time and conversations can't lag. If I was talking to Esteban right now and I said, "Hey, Esteban, I've got something to ask you." Will I see you in Tennessee again? Right? That's not a good conversation. There's a reason voice is hard.
Yeah.
Voice is hard because it's real time and we have conversations that ebb and flow.
Yeah.
So I would always ask about what kind of infrastructure they have so that you understand what's under the hood. If they do not have a strong telecoms infrastructure, then they're likely to have performance issues at scale. It's just true. It's just true. It's sad but true. Another thing that I would always ask if I was in your place is how does your agent respond if someone asks if they're AI? Do you disclose that? The answer should always be yes. If they say no, run away. And it's not actually a legal reason. It's trust. People don't mind speaking. We have found across all of our agents, most sellers, let's talk from a real estate point of view, they don't mind speaking to the AI agents. If the AI agent's conversation is taking them where they need to go, if it's a good conversation, if it's doing what they need, they don't mind. But you know what does piss them off? When they feel like they're trying to be fooled. That breaks trust immediately. The second thing I would, or the next thing I would absolutely ask is, how does your agent work over time? Let me explain what I mean by that. We've probably all experienced, I'd assume everybody on this call has used some sort of AI tool like ChatGPT or, right? Like, I'm assuming you've all used it at some point.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming at some level you've all had frustrations where you have done something with the agents, and then guess what? They don't remember anything. Everything they've done, I've come back and it's like talking to a brand new agent, right? Like, that is something that we see all the time, and it is super, super, super frustrating. So, a question I always recommend we ask is, how does your ad agent work over time? Like, what is your agent's capabilities on multiple calls? Do they have any sort of memory? How does that memory work? Does that memory, how does it how does the memory work? How much lag is in the memory? Those are all questions I would be asking if I was you. Now I want to do one final thing before I open up to questions. I just want to show you some examples. And I'm just bringing up my screen here. 1 second. Okay. I'm just going to find a conversation, and I'm going to share my screen and show you a conversation. Okay. And then I'm going to open up to questions, because most important thing is for you guys to ask any questions that you feel relevant, and I will stop whittering on so that I can hopefully be of use to you. Do you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is actually inside a smartphone, and inside a smartphone, we have what we call the recruitment. We have a recruitment center, and you can see a lot of these agents are trained by specific people. That's on purpose. That's because these people have actually trained how these agents speak, so that you're getting their qualified capabilities. But in this case, we're just going to look at the ones that I trained. Now, this agent is a role-based agent, and it's an inbound real estate acquisitions intake agent. His job is to answer the calls 24/7, qualify everything about the seller, and then schedule an appointment for us to go and meet them. That's their job. Now let's look at John. Let's find a conversation. I don't know which one. Here's one, 10-minute conversation. By the way, a lot of our agents will have 15, 20 to 25-minute conversations with people. That's how good the conversation element is. Now let's just look at what's important about, if you're thinking about integrating agents, let's just look at a couple things. So here is a conversation. We've got a nice summer here. Matthew called about a property in Connecticut, needs to sell within 2 to 3 months, relocating while his family follows later. Property's in good shape, recent kitchen and deck, but an old roof, right? And John scheduled Matthew for a follow-up call with the founder, May 22nd, 2 p.m. Great. But let's take a look at some of this. So here's what the agent was able to do, which then will help you and your team in your job. It was able to, make some decisions, but he was also able to isolate certain bits of information. So he qualified the address, and by the way, in real time, went and got the property information so he could talk about the property on the call. He isolated the reason, motivation. He isolated the ownership status, shared ownership with spouse. He isolated the sale timeline, the occupancy status, and the mortgage. He also then scheduled a follow-up that went directly into Greg's calendar. And more importantly, all that information, including the transcript here, was synced directly into the CRM. If you think back to what I started the conversation with around leverage being something that doesn't happen outside your process, but inside, that's an important example there, because what ended up happening was the agent answered the call, did everything we would want him to do, qualify and get address, get property details, like talked about the roof and the deck and all that stuff, but then was able to put it where it needed to go. It put the call and the information into the CRM, and he scheduled the call with the person. That means that the agent wasn't working in isolation. The agent was working in the business's process. And that's a really important part about bringing voice agents like this to bear. Now, one final thing I'll just note is our agents have real-time, genuine memory. So that's really important when you start having agents that have follow-up, because our agents will remember everything that's ever been said with that seller. And so our agents, if you say they reach out a month later to someone as a follow-up, and they're likely to say, hey, Esteban, last time we spoke, you were going to talk to your wife about the property. Did you get a chance to have that conversation? If Esteban says, hey man, I don't remember what what we talked about last call, can you remind me? The agent's not going to go look it up, because we've built a genuinely real-time, groundbreaking memory. The agent's going to come back in less than a second and say, yeah, no problem, we talked about this, and this. Those are all things that go into that. Again, going back to where I started, go into the agent becoming a useful part of your team and not a funky bit of software on the side. So I hope that kind of gave you guys a bit of an insight into this. I wanted to
Huge.
leave
Yeah.
time to answer any questions that I could.
No, huge. Um, so I'm actually curious about a few things. So you said that everyone would have context, and whether as a voicemail drop, whatever. Let's say a CRM, like, a lot of us use Go High Level, a lot of the clients also, a lot of people here. How would it plug in and understand the context of that contact that has had that you have in there, so that the messaging obviously would make sense.
Yeah. So for the outbound agents, an outbound agent, which by the way, right now in Smrtphone is an invite only thing. And that's only because we're doing some compliance bits. Honestly, I can't trust real estate investors not to cold call. I just can't trust them. So we've got, but we do have a whole bunch of people by invite using them, and they connect directly to CRM. And so they suck in leads from the CRM. They've got the full context of that CRM, and they're able to then push information back into the CRM. And also they're able to, of course, understand all the conversations and text messages they've done and anyone else in your team. So it may be like you got a follow-up agent, but that seller has spoken to you, Esteban. Well, me as the agent knows that they spoke to you, so they can say, a month ago, I know you were speaking to my colleague Esteban. It's all context and voicemail. The voicemail drops are really fun to listen to, actually, because the agents, I mean, they're all roughly the same voicemail because they've got the specific training. They're trying to do some same thing, but it's really fun to listen to the voicemail drops because obviously the agent waits, and when the beep happens, they leave a sort of 45-second message, and you never know what they're going to say, but it's pretty fun because then people end up calling back.
Nice. So when you tested this with the big player that had like this ginormous amount of conversations, was it more like a business to business, or like business to homeowner?
No, they and I don't want to use any names, but they run a weekly challenge where they get thousands of people signing up to their challenge. And this agent was we had 3 agents we built for them. One was to contact people ahead of the challenge to get them to upgrade to VIP. We got a 6 to 10% bump in VIP upgrades. The next agent was designed to call them the day before the challenge to get them to show up to the challenge, show up to the webinar, like the online. And then the final agent kicked in at the end, which was like an upsell agent for like basically a closing agent to get them to buy the product at the end of the challenge.
Okay.
So it wasn't real estate for that volume.
Yeah. It was mostly like opt-ins that were coming in at that specific moment, right?
Oh, well, it was people who signed up and not opted in. Yeah, it's imperative that you have a legal way of calling these people with AI. If you buy a list, do not put them into an AI caller.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's crazy because I actually was in an event with someone that was selling AI dialers, but they were encouraging people to call, and they were just selling the software. And then I asked, like, I mean, what if someone gets into shit? Like, there's a lot of people that literally their whole job every single day is to find you. They're either a lawyer or have lawyers, and
TCPA litigator.
they'll do a you know they'll put you down 20, 50, $100,000, and they said, well, it's up to them how they want to use it.
That's short-sighted of them as well, because the FCC is going after platform liability like they never have before, which is one of the reasons why we're very careful. Just to be transparent, we monitor all of our traffic. Like, we've got a lot of traffic, and we have AI agents that monitor all of our traffic for concerning traffic, and we
Yeah,
flag it and we review it. And there are times where we fire customers,
yeah,
where we get rid of them.
no, yeah, 100%. That makes a lot of sense. All right, so we're gonna open up for questions here for people that are in the chat or people that are in this meeting. We got Michael, Victoria, Arnie, WSTL, Ross, We Buy Dallas. We had Mo. I'm not sure if Mo is still here. He's also in family, by the way. But yeah, we have a few people. Any questions that you guys have in terms of like the use of AI, how to use it, how to properly set it up, and so on? We got WSTL with a quick question. What if you cold call in another platform and the seller says, yes, I want to sell, and then use the platform to call with the AI agents? Would that be okay?
So verbal consent is the lowest bar for consent, but you have to have it recorded and legally, because if it's a two-party state and you haven't told them you're recording it, then you're not recording legally. Verbal consent is the worst type of consent, but it can work. What's the best is if you have obviously opted in consent, like they've opted in on a form. But there's also another thing that is there, which is called an existing business relationship, an EBR, which can exist for 90 days with no transaction in most states, where someone has given you an inbound communication. So they've texted you back, say, an expressed interest, called you back and expressed interest. But in general, what I would say is, if you have a really good call, if you make a cold call, a legitimate legal cold call, right, in another platform, and you have a genuinely good conversation with someone who expresses a desire for you to interact with them, and you've captured all that, I would say that lead is more likely. I'd be pretty comfortable in re-communicating with them if I've captured all that information. But if I haven't captured it, I don't have the recording, I don't have that, then I wouldn't.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Most of our customers will cold call in one platform, and then when they work the leads, that's when they'll bring it in and have the agents work it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Okay. So the reason why it's invite only, I'm assuming it's because it's very sensitive towards like people using it incorrectly, or is any reason why you have it invite only? And who do you have invite only?
Yeah, it's not going to be invite only for much longer, actually, because we've had to build some consent tools that'll be automated so that we can open it up. No, we're planning on making a general release pretty soon. But we wanted to make sure that we're testing it, the compliance elements first with people we can trust. But then once that's done, then you'll have both inbound, outbound, speed to lead agents, follow-up agents that can work 24/7. And by the way, that already know things like, most people don't realize that there are calling windows you're allowed to call people and text people in, right? You cannot, you can't call someone at Sunday at 10 p.m. That's a TCPA violation. So the agents have all of that, and they check the area codes before they make any calls to make sure they're within the bounded the time frames that they can. They also obey a maximum amount of communications so that you don't fall by that. And of course, they also obey someone who says, "Don't call me again." So that's going to be general release. Right now, everybody's using our inbound agents. The outbound agents will be general release within a month.
So Okay, so WSO, what will be the price for the AI agent? Sorry if you mentioned that before.
No problem. So for our AI agents, we have two pricing models. You can hire our agents either full-time or part-time. Because remember, my presentation is all about agents acting as team members, not as software. Full-time includes all the calls and texts. So it's a flat monthly fee. And the full-time agents range from $900 a month to $2,500, just depending on the skill sets, the volume. Like a high volume agent with high skills is more expensive. A low volume agent with low skills, like a receptionist, is less expensive. But the part-time model is where most people start, because the part-time model is a lower monthly fee, usually between 99 and 399 a month, and then you just pay for the calls the agent makes. And that lets you not overcommit. It lets you scale the agent up. And then what we found is when people really start to get used to the agents and they've kind of integrated in their business, then they switch over to the full-time, because then they've got a flat fee and they don't have to think about it again.
Yeah, oh, that's great. So have you seen people replace a VA on this, or just amplify the VA? What's the best use cases they've seen, or like maybe just like couple an acquisition manager or a closer with this AI agents, be like, okay, look, I want to get to reactivate all the people that I've spoken with in the last 90 days, right? What's been the best cases that you've seen?
I mean, certainly, the never ever dropping a call and not answering a call is 100% the best use case I've seen to date, because it's made people lots of money.
Yeah.
I had a customer email me about a month into using their agent for after hours and overflow, and they locked down 4 contracts from calls that would have come in at like 10 or 11 o'clock and nobody would have answered.
Yeah.
So that's a really smart use case. Obviously, when on the outbound agents, for those of them that are using it, it's the no lead left behind as well. It's just making sure that the agent is able, not constantly battering them, but just they're always kind of pushing the lead forward, reconnecting with the lead, warming the lead back up, and then putting it to the human. And that's really the best use case, right? The agents can actually close deals. The agents can actually negotiate. The question is, do you want that? The question is, how do you want that integrated in your business? Well, what I've found so far is the agents are amazing at volume and at long term, and
Yeah.
then and at building back that kind of taking a lead, warming it back up, and then giving it to a human, to a person, handing it on a platter and being like, "There you go, close the deal."
Yeah.
And that way, also, it frees up your closers to not do shitty calls. Right? Nothing demotivates a sales team more than a bunch of good salespeople having to deal with a bunch of unqualified leads.
Yeah.
So that's where I see the most power right now.
How do you go about training? It's like right now, so everyone in here, we plug them into with our sales training. So whether you're from Hustle Media or or from remote, like they're plugged in with our sales training, which comes from NAPQ, right? And it's a good training for closing, and obviously it has a good training for like setting. Like, how do you develop that on an agent? How is that done?
So you and I have talked about this before, having agents trained by you in the platform that people can hire. And I think we're going to go ahead and do that together. And really that's where it is. The reason being is we don't really let people do a lot of back end training of the agents, because ultimately then they have to spend their time fixing all the training of the agent. Like, when, like, for instance, when we've got, you saw like Tiff and Josh High are in there, or some other people, Benmont's agents, they've given us all that we've trained the agents. And when we work with you, train the agents on that sales process, on the way to call, handling objections, all that, so that the people using those agents don't have to worry about that shit. They can just like, because why would you want to worry about? Why would you want to get into the business of figuring out how to adjust a prompt? Like, it's a massive waste of your time as a real estate investor. Your job is to find deals and close them, not figure out how to prompt an agent. So that's why we've got a recruitment center where you can hire pre-trained agents. Now, for people who want to do it themselves, of course, you've got tools out there that you can do that.
All right. Um, I'm I'm pumped for this because what do you think the next step is on like a, because right now it's AI callers and I'm assuming it's going to be just like calling the leads, but would be the next step of this would be like this agent ultimately lives in your CRM and can do a lot more. What is the future like?
Oh, the future is, as I said at the beginning, there's a reason I wrote a book called The AI Workforce,
Mhm.
because the honest truth is that across every one of my departments now, I have people and I have AI agents. And I have reconfigured the way work flows around my business so that the bits that AI does best, they do. And the bits the people do best, they do. And that, like, think about a setter right now. Or think about a setter who then spends 20 minutes updating a CRM. Why? Why? Think about like think about think about a new lead that comes in, or I don't know, think about a marketing team that wants to analyze, that wants to do better at social media and spends a lot of time figuring out, looking through the ad account to see which is working. Why? Like, that's why it's so important to think about this not just as a funky little bit of technology you plug in, but as a genuine new type of workforce that you can bring into your organizational structure. Because then you can say, well, these people, like, think about a normal salesperson. They may spend 40% of their day on the phone and 60% of the day updating the CRM, scheduling meetings, researching opportunities, right? Well, I don't want them doing those things. I can split their role up and I can have an AI agent that works with them that does all that shit for them so that they can focus on doing what I want them to do, which is closing those deals.
Mhm.
But that takes a mindset that doesn't look like an AI as a bit of funky, shiny technology, but as a new type of workforce that I have to integrate into my business processes and probably change them. And then what you asked will 100% come true. It's already coming true in our business. We have agents in every department doing like 50% of the load.
I love that. Do you have you ever maybe shared, or would you ever share how your departments are actually like set up right now so that you can agentize your work, or do we have to wait until the book?
No, I mean, I will never show the smartphone bit because I will never. But if you do go at the book, but I actually built a system. If you go to the future workforce, and I'll send this link to you as well, so all your people, your people can benefit from it. But the future workforce, I actually built a system where you can map out all your processes and structures the way they are today, and then remap them with AI, and you can
Yeah,
compare the two side by side.
yeah.
And that's the process. So for the people that have read the book already in the preview stage, I've helped 5 of those companies implement the framework into their business, and
Hmm.
they've basically had to reimagine their business processes. And now they're starting to add in agents because they've done the hard work, which is to figure out where they want the agents to work and how they want it to work together.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the bit that everybody needs to be thinking about right now.
In my opinion, everyone needs to sit down again, go back to the basics, like draw an org chart and like it's actually see like, okay, these are the exact people that we have, humans, and then these humans each will have.
Do I have 2 minutes?
Yeah, for sure. You
I
got.
just I don't want to I don't want to geek out and on it too much. But if I'm just going to share my screen quickly and show you something,
Mhm.
um, because to your point, that's exactly what we should be doing right now. Everybody needs to be doing this, and I'll just quickly show you. So this is a bit of behind the curtain stuff, but not too much. Um, Here's a sample of, this is the system I was telling you about that I built that
Mhm.
goes along with the book. So to your point, mapping out the systems you use and your departments and your people and all of that. mapping out different processes that you use, right? And potentially comparing different versions of them side by side, and having a full three-dimensional view of every part of your organization and how they sync together. That is what everybody needs to be thinking about right now to prepare their organization for the next stage.
Nice. Will you ever productize the future workforce?
That's already productized. It's just free right now. It's not going to be for long.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to sign up. The future workforce. What, AI?
The futureworkforce.ai. Yeah, it's in its beta state right now. But it's going to go, when the book launches, it's going to go into the full state. And I built that mainly because once you've read the book, you need to figure out how to implement the framework. And this helps you, guides you how to do that.
I love that. I'm going to sign up right now. I hope everyone here signs up. All right. So, Jordan, how can we continue working here together and give great thanks to everyone? And I know that everyone here is excited for what's coming with the AI, but I definitely want to support them better with all the trainings we know, the knowledge we have, the data we have. What will be the best thing to do here?
Well, I mean, obviously, if anybody ever wants to reach out to me, has any questions, you can hit me up on Instagram or Facebook. You can find me pretty easily. And then, certainly, given our work with you, Esteban, we've got easy ways for you to build the agents using your training, and then everybody can benefit from those agents with the training that they already love from you. And I'm always happy to have a chat with anybody that if you have any questions, I'm always happy to have a chat and try and offer some guidance.
I love that. Jordan, thank you so much, brother. But so everyone knows Jordan is in Poland, so it's probably like what is it? It's at night, so he's already.
It's just turning 6 p.m., so it's almost time for a glass of whiskey.
There you go. It's almost time for a glass. Do you work? I'm assuming you work Eastern hours, right?
I mean, I'm the chairman of the company now, so I don't really work that much.
Yeah, I love that. But I mean, to have real normal conversations, obviously, with people here in the US.
Yeah, I Tuesdays and Thursdays, I usually are my middays to meet with people in the US.
Yeah. Okay, love that. Well, enjoy Europe, brother. Hopefully, do you think Europe is gonna grab the World Cup, or it's gonna be South America?
Viva la España!
All right, so that's gonna be exciting. So there's only one Latin American or the Americas country right now alive. So I have.
They got a good chance.
Yes, they got a good chance.
Yeah. Unless FIFA gets in their way.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for everyone for coming. Again, if you guys like this, obviously subscribe. Invite people to the Entrepreneurs Mastermind that we have. It's on school free for now, and obviously, if you're a client, you can always get the recording of this, and we will give you guys like any access, first-hand access to anything that we develop with Jordan for you guys to ultimately test. Thank you so much for coming in here, brother Jordan. Thank you so much again for being in here.
Pleasure.
Now you understand why plugging AI into a pre-AI business doesn't work, and exactly how to redesign your operation so your agents actually multiply your results. And there's a specific way top investors are combining AI agents with their human team right now that's closing deals that would have been dead leads forever, and we're covering that next. Every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, we bring in operators and experts breaking down what's actually working for real estate investors right now, completely free. Stay tuned for what's coming next. Link to join the community is in the description. We'll see you there.